In this video, I will be showing you how you can use Emmet to write CSS faster, and we will be learning this with the help of an example on how to center a div in different ways. VS Code has built-in support for Emmet, and so do other code editors such as Atom and Sublime Text. We can make use of shortcuts such as this, which will auto-generate code for us. Emmet saves your time as it auto-completes the code for you, and you can even use your knowledge of CSS selectors to generate complex HTML tags. For example, instead of typing the entire tag like this, what you can do is just type the tag and it will auto-generate it for you. Similarly, if you want to give a class name, you can just give the class name like this and it will add the name of the class along with the generated tag. You can also apply the same knowledge of CSS selectors, and if you want to give an ID, you use the hash sign and just type it like this and it will generate the ID attribute. Apart from this, you can even nest elements and you can do something like this, right? You can have a div, a paragraph and a span, and if you want to add multiple of these, you can just specify a number. It will generate that many amount of tags for you. Now, isn't this all wonderful? With just a few keystrokes, you can generate a large amount of code. It saves your time and it allows you to achieve more. Well, that's enough about HTML and Emmet. Let's get started with CSS and Emmet. So what we will do now is we will create a div and give it a class container, and within that we will have another div and give it the class as box. All right, and we will try to center this box within this container. Let's define these styles in styles.css and link it here. So Emmet even auto generates that for me. We will write a definition for our container, similarly one for our box, and let's get rid of all the extra padding and margin which is added by the user agent style sheet or the default styling of the browser. So let's go to the body and let's give the padding as 0. So we will say P0 and M0. Okay, now wasn't that simple? This happened because of CSS Emmet. Now let's move to our container and we will be making use of Flexbox to center all of the contents of this container. So we will say display flex df. All right, then to align all of the items in the center vertically, we will say AIC. Okay, align item center. Then to justify the content in the center, we will say JCC. Let's also give it the entire width and height of the visible area, which is known as the viewport. So W for width 100 VW, and for the height 100 VH. Okay, now for the box, what we will do is we'll just give it a color. So background color BGC DA1234, that's the color code. And let's also give it a height and a width. So a width of 20 rem, so W20R, and similarly a height of 20 rem And there we go. Let me save this. As you can see, we have our box centered within this container. Let's inspect this. So you can see over here, right? This is the container and this is the box which is centered. Now this was all fun, right? You didn't have to type all of the properties and complete them. Instead, you just used like certain keystrokes and it auto completed the property for you. But what if I told you there was even a faster way of doing the same thing in one line? Let's look at that approach now. What we want to do is display flex, then align items in the center, then justify the content in the center, give it a width of 100 and a height of 100 as well. Now this looks like some kind of a mathematical equation, but don't get confused by that. We are just writing the same properties, but with the help of the plus operator, we can chain them together. For the next example, we will try and use the concept of positioning and absolutely position this box within this container. To do that, let me get rid of these properties. Okay, and we want to do position relative, and for the box let's position it absolutely. So we will say POSA for position absolute. Then we will give it a width of 300, but this time we will give the width in pixels, and same for the height of 300. Let's give it a background color, and then let's give it top of 0, bottom of 0, left 0 and right 0. As for the margin, we will give it margin auto so that it is equally spaced from all the directions. And let's complete this. On saving, we get this as the output. You can still see that the height and width reduced slightly, but it is still centered within this container. So when we're making use of pixels, we don't need to give the unit. We can just type the number, and similarly you can just type T, B, L and R to give the respective values for top, bottom, left and right. For the third example, the position is once again absolute. The top is 50%. Then from the left, it's also 50%. Let's give it a width of 20 rem and a height of 20 rem and a background color. And this time let's make use of the transform property and perform a translation in the X and Y direction, that is horizontally as well as vertically. So we will write TRF for transform and TX for translating it along the X axis. Let's give that as minus 50%, and for the Y we will try and give it minus 50%. Let me save this, and you can see once again this box is centered within this container. For our final approach, we will use the concept of grids, and we will once again center the box. Let me get rid of these properties. And as for the container, let's give it display grid and place the content in the center. Let's save this. So even with Grid, we were able to center this box within this container. So there we have it. We looked at the different CSS Emmet shortcuts, and we also learned how to center a div in a couple of ways. It wasn't possible for me to cover all the shortcuts over here, but I have attached the CSS Emmet cheat sheet in the description of this video. You can go through that and try it out yourself. If you like this video, do share it with others and save their time. Thanks for watching. Until we meet again.